Creating a slideshow presentation for many is a rite of passage. At some point during school or work life, you may be asked to piecemeal together a presentation for your classmates or colleagues. Sometimes, if you're unlucky, that presentation is put together in only a few hours, with little time to think about design or content. But what if you could remove having to ever think about your design or where your content should go? What if you're the owner of a small business and want to put together a simple slideshow theme that anyone in your company could use? This is where knowing how to create a branded presentation comes in handy. Branding your PowerPoint slideshow might seem like it shouldn't matter, but delivering a branded presentation might be the difference between looking like you spent a lot of time on your presentation and looking like you put it together in 5 minutes. So why would you need to brand a presentation? Well, for one, branding is all about recognition and consistency. Creating a branded PowerPoint will allow all the departments inside your organization to stay consistent with colors, type, and even layout. No matter how many presentations your company gives, they all will have the same voice. Branding your PowerPoint also makes it easier for you to get your message across. Because it isn't the default theme that everyone recognizes, it'll seem like you put some time into your presentation. This translates to professionalism, and if you're at an important conference, for example, having your presentation be seen as professional makes your viewers more likely to pay attention to what you have to say. Lastly, despite wanting to have ample time to create your slideshow, sometimes you only have an hour, or even worse, a few minutes. Branding your presentation takes the guesswork out of the design and leaves you only having to worry about the content and your speaking skills. Now that we know why we would want to brand a PowerPoint, let's talk about how. First, it's important to note that the theme of your presentation differs from the template. The theme determines the colors, general images, and type styling of your presentation, while the template is a complete PowerPoint slideshow using dummy content. Both are great ways to ensure consistency in your presentations, but in this video, we'll only focus on creating the theme. In this video, we will use a fake company, complete with logo and brand colors that I created just for this purpose. This is because our PowerPoint theme determines the colors, type, and even the layout of our slideshow. You can create graphics for your presentation using Photoshop, Illustrator, or free alternatives like GIMP or Pixar.com. I'm going to use Illustrator because Illustrator allows me to resize my graphics at a later date without losing quality. With my graphics software now open, I will design my slides using dummy content. I don't have to use real content here because my goal is to just get an understanding of the layout I want and the elements that repeat throughout my slideshow. Before I start, I need to know the size of my slides so that any graphics I create can cover the slide without clipping or leaving an undesigned edge. To do this, I will open up PowerPoint and create a blank presentation. Then, I can go to File, Page Setup, and figure out the size of the default PowerPoint presentation slide. If you're using a custom size for a specific reason, you can easily change this number in PowerPoint, but for ease of use, I would suggest leaving it at default. Once we know the size of the PowerPoint slide, we can input that into Illustrator during the new file creation process. Make sure you're adding the inch measurement to the end of your numbers, otherwise Illustrator won't know which unit your measurements are in and will assume it to be the default measurement. Now that we have the correct size, you can begin to design the file as you wish. If you need to input a specific color, for instance, you can do so from the Swatches menu. Here, you can add a new swatch by selecting the New Swatch button and inputting the color code of your brand colors. Do this for each color you intend to use. You can do this before or after building your main design, but doing it before reduces the amount of steps and color changes. If you want to import a photo to see how an image might look on the slide, go to File, Place, select your image, and hit the Place button. This will load your image into the cursor, And from here, you can drag a box to the approximate size you want your image to be. When you let go, the image will be imported into the size of the box you dragged. If you're starting from complete scratch, the best place to begin would be by looking at how slides in PowerPoint are organized. So let's view the different slide types that PowerPoint offers. Inside of PowerPoint, navigate to the View menu, then Slide Master. It will put us into the master slides of our presentation. The master slide determines what information PowerPoint places on every single slide of that type. Things like background colors, images, and text can be added here. If you know, for instance, this presentation will be given at a conference, you can add the name of the conference on the master slide and it will show up on every single slide of your presentation. On the Slide Master view, there are two types of master slides. The True Master is the first and largest slide, and anything we do on this slide will affect every slide in our presentation. Below it, we have our Layout Master. Layout Masters allow us to add, remove, or edit anything about a slide, including its background and content, but the edits made only affect that specific layout. So if we add a background to our Comparison Layout Master, for example, that background is only visible when we add a comparison slide to our presentation. The Layout Master will override the True Master slides. Knowing this, we can design our slides based off of these Layout Masters. I went ahead and created an example theme for my PowerPoint presentation, but let's go ahead and add a comparison slide so you can get a feel for how I did it. If you want more information on how to use Adobe Illustrator, you can book a librarian for some one-on-one time or watch the Adobe Illustrator basic video tutorial on LinkedIn Learning. Let's go ahead and add a comparison slide so you can see how I did it. I'm going to start by copying a slide I've already created. I'll do this by selecting my artboard tool, selecting the artboard I want to copy, and then with the Option or Alt key held down, I'm going to left click and drag a copy of this artboard away. Make sure your copied artboard doesn't overlap any of your other artboards, as it might visually interfere with the slides it overlaps. Another tip about this tool, make sure you're letting go of the keyboard before you let go of the mouse. Now that my artboard is copied, we can modify it to fit our specific needs. The slide we're working on is a comparison slide, and I want to compare two images and include a small text blurb about them nearby. So to begin, I'm going to select some of this text, delete it, and add in two images, one on the left and one on the right. To import an image, I'll simply navigate to File, Place, find my image, and then drag a box to the approximate size of that image. I will do this for both of my images. Then I'm going to add text below it. Using my type tool, I'm going to drag a text box approximately where I think I want my text to be. It will automatically fill in with lorem ipsum, a dummy text, and from here I can style it to match the style of my text. It's important to keep in mind that the text in PowerPoint is unlike the text in Illustrator. In Illustrator, the text is in paragraphs and reads more like a magazine, whereas in PowerPoint, our text will be in a list. So our use of text here is more of layout and placement than a one-to-one correlation to how it will look. There, now that we have our comparison slide, we can begin thinking about exporting this for PowerPoint. The first thing I want to do is make sure my artboards are named. This will help me correctly identify the different slides after I've exported them, as the file names will match the artboard names. To name our slides, the first thing we're going to do is click on our artboard panel on the right side of our workspace. From here, we'll double-click the number of the artboard to verify what slide we're about to name. Then, once we've verified, we can double-click the name of the slide to change it. When you're done naming your artboards, just click away or press return on your keyboard. Finally, the last step before we export seems counterintuitive, but remember our goal in Illustrator is to get an understanding of the repeating elements in our design. Now that we know what the common elements are, we can export those to import into PowerPoint. So before we do that, we first have to hide all the dummy content on our slides, so we're only exporting the design. Since the text and images will be added inside of PowerPoint, we need to make sure we don't include any information that will alter the way that our design looks. To hide these items, I will select them by holding down Shift. Shift will allow me to select multiple items at once. I will know they're selected when a colored box appears around them to indicate they're selected. Then, I'll go to my Layers panel, expand it, and find all of the layers that have a colored dot to the right of their name. This indicates those are the layers that I have selected. From here, I will left-click the eyeball to the left of the layers to hide them. The important thing is I only need to do this to the artboards that change in style. If you look at most of my artboards, they all feature a blue bar on the right and the logo on the bottom left. This is very similar to my blank slide, so I won't need to hide any of the information on these slides. I can just reuse the background of my blank style on these slides. So only the slides that have different colors or where the blue bar is thicker and contains text will I need to hide the layers. Once I've hidden the text and images from the appropriate slides, I can go ahead and export. To do this, I will go to File, Export for Screens. A window will pop up asking to confirm various options. From here, I can change the number of the slides that are exported, the size, or the file type. For now, I'm just going to leave everything as default and hit Export. This will export a 1x folder to my desktop or to the folder I specified. Here you can see I have all of my images exported, including the ones I left the dummy content on. Now we can go into PowerPoint and assemble our theme. So let's open up PowerPoint and create a new blank presentation. From here, we can navigate to View, Slide Master. This will take us into our master slide area and we can begin to put our theme together. First, let's edit our true master. Since most of our slides contain the background of our blank slide, it is a good idea to add this first. To do so, click on your true master and then select Background Styles. From here, select Format Background. A side menu will pop up. From this menu, we're going to select an image. Then below that, press the Insert button to select the image we want. From here, we'll navigate to the blank presentation artboard we just exported. Once we hit Select, our slideshow should automatically populate with our changes. Now that we have the background, let's talk about text. You can select fonts from the Slide Master options, or if you have a font on your brand style guide that isn't on the list of font pairings, you can select the Home tab and edit the text box individually. Next, let's talk about customizing colors. Since we're using images as our background, we won't have to work with color much. But if we want to use some of our brand-specific colors in type, for instance, we can add those by clicking on the Colors menu inside of our Slide Master area. Then, select Customize Colors. From here, you can change the value of each of the colors to match the colors of your brand. Be sure to pay attention to the accent and background color options. When we go to Close Master and then view the colors, we should have all of our custom colors available to us to click. Once we've set up our type and colors, we can begin working on our layouts. So let's edit our title slide. Inside of our slide master area, navigate to the title slide. In the default PowerPoint title slide, it has 2 text boxes, but in my design, we don't have any text at all, just images. So the first thing we will do is select the text boxes and press delete. Next, we're going to format the background of this slide and pull in the image for our main title. Once we have our background, all that's left to do is add our images. Because the images might change from presentation to presentation, I won't add the images here. Instead, I will add in image placeholders. These placeholders will allow anyone who uses this theme in the future to add images of their own in a format that I specify. To add a placeholder, make sure you're working in the Slide Master tab. Then navigate to the Insert Placeholder dropdown. This dropdown will include all the placeholders we can add to our slideshow. For now, let's select Image and then drag a box where we want our image to go. So based off of my main title design, we're going to draw 3 narrow boxes to hold our images. If we don't get the size right the first time, we can resize the boxes really easily. Now let's test it by choosing the Close Master option and adding a new title slide. We should see placeholders for images and PowerPoint asking us to add images to this particular slide. There, perfect. We've successfully modified a default slide to fit our theme. We'll do this exact same process for every other layout slide that we're changing. So for our comparison slides, for our image slides, etc. But what if we're creating a custom slide? Do we have to pick a default layout to remove or edit? The answer is no. We can create our own custom slide by going back into our slide master and clicking the New Layout button. It will add a new blank slide with our default theme already loaded and a single text placeholder. We will use that later, so don't delete it just now. Maybe move it to the side. But let's go ahead and create our custom layout. First, let's start by adding in our image placeholders. Again, we go to our Slide Master tab and select the Insert Placeholder button and navigate to Image. I'm going to go ahead and insert my 2 images this way. Now that I've inserted my 2 images, I want to focus on my text. I will start by moving the title text inside my slide and moving it to its current location. Next, I can insert placeholder text in the same manner I did the images by navigating to the Insert Placeholder button, but this time, instead of selecting Image, I will select Text. Once I have both text boxes in their appropriate place, and because I'm using a custom typeface and not one of the options that PowerPoint has available in the Fonts dropdown, I will go to the Home tab and adjust my fonts from here. If I selected a font pairing from the Fonts dropdown, I will not need to do this for any of my slides or text. Lastly, if I right-click this slide and go to Rename, I can rename it so that it's identifiable when I go to add a new slide. Otherwise, it will just say Custom. There, let's test out our custom layout. If I close my master and go to New Slide, I should see the newly named custom layout on the list. From here, if I add it, I should be able to quickly fill in the information as I see fit. There, our theme is done. Now that we have all of our slides, all of our colors, and all of our type input, the last thing to do is save it. To save our theme, we'll go back to the Slide Master and select Themes. Then select the Save Current Theme option. Save the theme to a safe place and that's it. You're done. But let's test it. To load our custom theme in a new blank PowerPoint, go to the Slide Master. Then select Theme, Browse for Theme. Select your custom theme from the menu and load it. Your colors, your type, and your layout should automatically be input into this slideshow. And that's it, you're done. You're ready to create professional, custom, and branded PowerPoint. To find out more about how to use PowerPoint or Illustrator, check out our digital library resources like linkedinlearning.com. You have access to this website with your Gwinnett County Public Library card. Happy theming!